we have a nebula background for the opening segment. We've got Dell in the green room. We've got all monitors standing by. All the cameras are on. They are aimed. They're in focus. We are ready to go. Switch to the studio in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I am so glad you are here. Yes, I am, and what a nice crowd. And I don't know if you all connected the dots. That last song, "Just a Baby Boy," was done by, well, Steve Free, and he is among us. Welcome, Steve. Glad you're here. Glad to see Canton Tweet and Hazards 4, Steve, Tammy from Georgia, and, well, Data Genesis. What we need to do, we got to get to Dell. He had an excellent blog today. I can't wait to hear him share more about it. But to do that, we're going to have to go to where he's at. So we'll do that right now at warp speed. And there we are. And I guess what I got to do is we're gonna set the stage. We're gonna roll out the red carpet right now for Dell Didway. He's standing by. I promise you that. And we'll make room for him right there. Okay. Now, I don't know if you are reading Dell Didway's blog, but I command you to do so. It's at delldidway.com. That's how you spell it. Don't try to use phonetics. Phonics do not work here. It's delldidway.com. He blogs every Tuesday. And this is going to be the easiest and most interesting and most fun interview I've done in a long time, because Dell wrote a blog on, of all things, teamwork, and he did that just for Coach Prasick, I'm sure. So, Dell, welcome to PJNet Live, and I can't wait to get into your blog. But before we do, there was something that I just gotta add to it. You are a writer, Dell Didway. That is singular. But I submit to you that you have a team of your own behind you. And I'm going to start with Angie, but I want you to just go down the list. Who all's on your individual team just for you?
Oh, just for me?
Yeah.
Well, that's a tough question. I mean, of course, my wife does a lot of my editing. She helps me with a lot of my ideas, too. I have my agent, who you met last week, Kyle. We have Michelle, who's a big part. She helped me get going, actually. A lady I didn't mention, who put me in contact with a lot of people, named Sherilyn Bisbano. She's up in Rhode Island area. She's a big part of me getting started. And then my other friends, Bethany, is awesome. And on down the list, we have Victoria, who's wonderful with us, and Cody. I have a whole list of folks I even didn't mention, but who play a big part in my success, and all my publishers that work with me. So I have a big team, actually, a big team that helps me. I guess achieve success. I don't look at it as success, but who helps me? I mean, do everything.
The front cover says Dell Didway. But when you get inside, there's acknowledgments. And folks, if you want to know who all is involved, well, buy all of his books. You can go to delldidway.com, buy all of his books, and you can find out who really does all the heavy lifting. And I just about threw one of my laptops off the counter here, but
yeah, Dell, and I do give acknowledgments in my books to people who play behind the scenes.
Yeah,
and there's quite a bit of them.
So writing is not just so much a solitary profession. You do have a team of people that contribute to the finished product. The words are one thing, but that's not the finished product. And there's a lot of focus on the quarterback in football, so I guess there's a lot of focus on the author in writing. But I tell you what, that quarterback is worthless without his team. Wait a minute,
yeah.
Didn't you say something like that in your blog today?
Yeah, it's tough for a quarterback to throw the ball if he's on his back the whole time. So, a lot of folks go, but there's times when you make mistakes and you get rejections that you feel pretty lonely. So, everybody does help share the successes, and that's always a good part.
Well, this week I stand in amazement of just how busy you are. But I was thinking about, of all the weeks that we've gotten together here, I would have to say this had to be one of not only the busiest but the most personally rewarding. That's just my take. What do you say?
As far as concerning last week's chaotic session there with that we had last week, I thought was fun.
It was a lot of fun,
Yeah.
and I had and you were gracious enough to include us in on some of the fun from New York City last week. But what a busy day, or week.
Yeah.
One of the
Month.
Well, let's talk about your blog, teamwork. How I had never heard, or wait a minute, excuse me, I had heard you talk about serious writers, and I thought that was just sort of a phrase you were using to characterize you and some of your peers, but it's actually more structured than that. It's a real actual thing.
Yeah, it's a real company started by my agent and our good friend Bethany Jett, who's also an author. They formed this group and to help people who want to be a writer, who want to be a serious writer, want to be taken seriously. And so what they do is they go around the country and hold conferences, writing conferences. We're fortunate enough to be a part of those now. There's one coming up in August in North Carolina. My wife's the conference manager. I'm on faculty. It means I'll be teaching classes. And then we have the Ohio conference, and they have them all over the country, actually, 1-2 day stops. And they're for folks who can't afford to go to the week-long conferences, so they're not as expensive, but they're jam-packed with classes, sessions. They have editors. They have publishers, agents come down. You can sit and talk with these agents and publishers about your work, learn more, make good contacts, and have a good time at the same time. So that's what those are about. It's Serious Writer Incorporated, and they hold. You can go on their website, check them out, seriouswriter.com, and see what they have to offer. And it's something that you might be interested in. I'm sure Kyle and Bethany would love for you to join.
Now, while you were in New York, tell us what this event was. Tell us about what the event was.
The Book Expo is the largest book show, and it's for retailers, a publisher, anybody who's anybody in the book industry, in the published world. They're there promoting their products. They're there meeting, it's trying to see new products. A lot of the books we signed were to retailers who hopefully will like the book and go place an order for it, put in their stores. And you can set up appointments to meet with agents and authors and editors and anybody you want to talk to. As far as the biggest of the biggest, I mean, Simon & Schuster's there, Penguin's there, the biggest names in publishing, and then you have publishers and people you've never heard of, the small private publisher trying to make contacts. So it's and it's just 3 days of nonstop action to where there's celebrities there. I guess you can call them celebrities. They lean more towards liberal side, which is fine. But like one of the big speakers this week was Rachel Maddow. I didn't really care to listen to her, so I didn't. So, but they did have the Bush twins were there, and to speak and give their journeys and to give their stories. So a lot of activity going on nonstop. You have to know where you're going, who you want to talk to. If you want to be productive there. I had several meetings set up with a couple of publishers. I'm pretty sure we were able to get another book deal that we're really confident in. So we'll have something out with this publisher about 2022 probably. So we're excited about this. So that's what the Book Expo is. It's just the publishing world coming together to show what they have, to find new talent, and just see what's out there.
Does this kind of resemble a trade show where you've got vendors that pay for a presence, a booth there,
Mm-hmm.
and then attendees? Okay, so it's really a trade show for writers.
Yeah, it is.
Okay,
Yeah.
That helps me understand it. Now, the book signings are a big deal, and you shared with us about your big book signing with Clint over the manager of the Pittsburgh team. And that was a big deal, but this from what I read, that kind of made this overwhelmed you. I mean, 90 book signings in a minute?
No, in an hour.
In an hour, I'm sorry. Yeah, that'd be
But
hard to do
no,
in a minute.
Bo, Clint's was awesome because big turnout there to see him and buy my book and meet people, which was a lot of fun. Um, this one was comparable to that, but I was apprehensive on it because it is a general market world, which is fantastic. That my book was that well received, being a spiritual book in the general market. So I was a little, I would say nervous. I was a little um, concerned. I didn't want to be embarrassed and have like four people show up.
Yeah.
So, but that's where our team came into play, and we help each other out. We did that for Michelle and Victoria. We went out on the floor and we're not yelling, but we're going up to folks and saying, "Here's Michelle's book," and do you will like a copy? She'll be happy to sign it for. And so we do that for everybody. And so they were able to do that for me and help me get a pretty big showing. In fact, I probably had one of the largest ones there. So being a non-celebrity, because there's some folks there with recognizable names signing their books, like Sally Field and a few others. So um, I was fortunate enough to have close to 100 people come by.
So you were out for your team. Each of you were out kind of hawking for each other.
Yeah.
Because and you kind of have to do that because
Mm-hmm.
you're actually in competition with all the other exhibitors, and I assume you pay for that spot. Or somebody
No,
does.
somebody does. It wasn't us. I mean, like with Michelle, she did an in-booth signing with one of her publishers. It's there at their booth, and they pay for that, and it helps. It gives them exposure. Everybody gets exposure out of this deal. So our publisher was able to send a couple hundred books to the show for us, and get some exposure with them too.
And of course there's the official business, but then
Mm-hmm.
the exhibit's closed down, and then what do? Just go to the hotel room and sleep?
Oh, I wish we didn't. We got like zero sleep, which is a lot of fun. If you're in New York, you don't want to sleep. That's the last thing you want to do. So I think the first night we find this little diner that I love called TikTok Diner. It's in fact they ended up giving me a mug, and I thought I had it here with me, but it's back in the kitchen. But it's like the Seinfeld Diner. It's awesome, and it's open 24 hours. It's in the hotel we stay in, and it got pancakes like as big as frisbees. I mean, they're just huge, and the best New York style cheesecake you'll ever eat in your life is there. And we like one night was there till 3 a.m. and then the show starts at 9. So went to a show one night. We had planned to go to the Yankees game, but it was a blessing in disguise. The game was rained out, and because there had some horrible storms there. But I had my book signing, and we were kind of tired, so Angie and I headed back to the hotel around 4 o'clock. We're gonna meet everybody around 6 for dinner, and then I get a call from Michelle like at 4 o'clock. She's like, "Where are you?" I said, "We're back at the hotel." She goes, "Drop what you're doing, get in a lift to get to Fox News." I'm like, okay. So one of the personalities there, his name's Todd Starnes. We know Todd. We've met him at some conferences. She said, "Todd's going to show us around Fox News." I'm like, oh, okay. So we dropped what we were doing, went outside. It was pouring the rain. I was trying to get a cab. I mean, I could have lit my hair on fire and couldn't get a cab to stop. It's like 4 o'clock downpour. If you've been in New York at that time, it's just pure combat. So we were able to get a lift, come and picked us up, and got over to Fox News before 5 o'clock. And Todd met us there, and it was me and Michelle and Bethany and our friend Mark and my wife and I, and chatted with Todd for about an hour. Then we were able to meet the cast from the Five, Dana Perino and Jesse Waters and Greg Gutfeld. We didn't want to really meet Juan, so we just kind of let him walk by.
Yeah.
Um,
Just tip
so
your hat, yeah.
yeah, we
Hey,
didn't
Juan.
even do that. So we were able to visit there with Todd from Fox and meet some other of the folks that we like to watch there. So the game being canceled was kind of a good thing, because if I'd been in the Bronx and I had a chance to meet Dana Perino and couldn't do it, I would have really been upset. So
Well, the thing that stands out to me, and I got to say, Michelle is a firecracker. I mean, I've never seen so much energy radiating from a person
she was
as her.
subdued that night. She was tired that night.
Oh, really? Okay. Well, I mean, but what impresses me is she didn't have to call you.
Oh, I know. So I sent a message, and that's why I try to help people, because I get messages a lot too. But yeah, you're right. She did not have to. I just sent her a message out on LinkedIn. She didn't know me. I didn't know her. I didn't know any of these people, and I just saw where she was a sports writer. I said, hey, we share a similar background. Like to talk about writing, and a few days later she responded, and then a couple years later, we're doing a book together. And we're in this wonderful circle of friends that, we have the same agent. We have a lot of things going our way. So yeah, she didn't, but it all stemmed from that, and so it's all her fault. I tell her that. So and especially after I beat her in that contest, I tell you, this is your fault. So
She loves it, but
well, she does.
it's the kind of thing that tells you about the character of a person. When I don't know how she did it, but given how bubbly she is, she probably did it. But then she starts reaching out and helping others, and creating an experience for you and your wife. And I don't know what was Todd Starnes' interest in being there. He just didn't. He was just walking around and found himself there.
No, he was not at the expo. He was back at his office. With just last year we met Todd down at the Blue Ridge Mountain Christian Writers Conference 2 years ago, and Michelle spoke at one of his events one time, because he's gone to that conference and they kind of formed a friendship. And in fact, Todd's run my blog on his website before.
Really?
So I was decorating for my son's wedding, and I get a text message. And he says, "Do you mind if I run your blog on my website?"
Let me think about it. Yeah, let me think about it. Okay, I thought about it. Yeah,
it was a Father's Day blog, and I didn't recognize who it was. I said, "Yes, but who is this?" I don't know who this is. He says, "Todd Starnes." I'm like, "Oh," I said, "Always assume yes. Never have to ask me again." So I was honored by that, And then so we just know each other, and we're friends, but I don't bother him. And so last year when we were out there, we sent word, "Hey, we're here." He had an issue with his apartment, like a water main break. So he was flooded out last year. So this year, he looks at one of Michelle's posts. "Oh, you guys are in New York. Why don't you guys come by?" So that's how that was.
Well, you handled that much differently. I don't want to characterize myself as getting a lot of calls from high-profile people, but I'll never forget the time when I'm in my kitchen pouring coffee. The phone rings, and it's from the 202 area code, which I recognize as Washington, D.C. And the voice on the other end says, "Is this, Mark Prasick?" I said, "Yes." He said, "Well, this is Congressman Jim Bridenstine." I said, "Yeah, right, and I'm Santa Claus. Who is this really, and who put you up to this?" He said, "No, really, I'm Jim Bridenstine," and he's and I had reached out to him because some tornadoes had. I reached out to his office, I should say, but never in a million years did I expect to get a phone call from Jim Bridenstine, a United States congressman, out of the blue. I mean, just out of the blue. It was a real honor. But I tell you what, we actually prayed on the phone, and it's a very uplifting thing. And folks, I'm not Jim Bridenstine, and neither are any of us, but I can't overstate the value of just reaching out to a friend and just making a simple phone call, because you never know what that friend might be going through at the time. God can use that.
The same thing happened when I was trying to get in touch with Jim Tressel, the former coach of the Buckeyes, who wrote the foreword for my book. He didn't know me, but I put some calls into his receptionist, and a few days later I get a call, and it's Jim Tressel calling me back. I'm like, "Hey, well, thanks for calling back." And this is what I'd like. So, and it all worked out. So, doing the foreword for my book. Yeah, and I've taken some calls from some high-profile people in the past, like Larry King one time, and Floyd Patterson, the boxer. So yeah, it's all fun. But when I got that text from Todd, I'm like, "Well, that's fine, but tell me who you are." And how'd you get my number now?
Yeah.
So I had given him my card, so that's how that worked out.
Well, I would be remiss in your blog, when you normally do sports figures, you always find, even if it's not particularly religious, you find a way to weave scripture into the interview or your thoughts in your blog. And this week you did the same thing. God has some things to say about teamwork.
Oh yeah, I mean you have to have it. I mean I can't do anything by myself, and I mean yeah, that's why he had 12 disciples. I mean it's a teamwork of everything.
And what a bunch
And
of bozos he picked. I wouldn't have picked any of them.
yeah, I'm reading Mark this week. I'm like, some of these guys are just idiots. I shouldn't say that, but I'm like, even the Lord got a little frustrated with some of them. A couple of times. I'm like, did he get the disciples or like the Three Stooges, a couple of them, but no, they're all good people. But
I would have summarily dismissed their resume if it came across my desk. I'll say it that way.
But you have to have a team. You have to have, like I said, the greatest basketball players can't win on their own, even though a couple of them have tried. And I mean, there's individual sports, obviously, but even they have a team. I mean, your golfers have coaches and support staff, and your tennis players as well. So and they have their scouts out there. So it's always a team effort. Zach, in the race last week has a huge team. He's the one driving the sports car, but a lot of people behind the scenes working to make sure that car runs. And I think he'll be back. He had a good showing last week up in Detroit too. So he's back on the track after being banged up a little bit.
Most of the people that see this and hear this are going to say, "Well, I'm never going to be a Dale Didway. I just work 9 to 5 at my job." But so I wanted to kind of connect what teamwork is, and you are part of a team because you have friends and you have family. You are a leader in some respect, but most importantly, you can join a local fellowship, a Christian fellowship. We call it church, okay? But I would encourage you, if you are not churched, to be a part of it, because not only for your own personal spiritual growth, but just the emotional support. And it's not just because we're all in the same place, we just help each other, although that's a part of it, but we're actually commanded to bear one another's sorrows and share our joys with one another. And that is so much what drives PJNet Live, because we, the people that come here in our chat room, and if you're just watching this and haven't come to our chat room, you really should stop by and pay a visit, because I can promise you, I know these people here, although I have not personally met any of them, that we have something here that everybody needs, and that's love. Okay, we want to share the love of Jesus Christ, the love of God, and we do that by loving each other and helping each other. And I would encourage you to join, come in, just you can just hang out with us. You don't have to you just use your Twitter or Facebook to authenticate to get in the chat room. So expose yourself to that, because we have something to offer you, but more importantly, you have something to offer us, and I think together would be much stronger as a team. So, Dale, any closing remarks or comments?
No, I mean what you said is right on the money. I mean, you said nobody wants is like me. I mean, 2 years ago, I didn't know this world existed. So, I'm 52, and I just started my writing journey when I was 50. So, it's opened quite quickly. But through all this stuff, we've met. You're a part of our team. I'm a part of your team. So there's always room.
Well, and what's neat is,
more people.
We post a tweet saying, come see. Well, right away you start seeing some teamwork. You pile on with a retweet. Steve Free piles on. Everybody piles on.
Tammy
supports one. Tammy, boy.
Tammy retweeted. Yeah, I appreciate that.
She hasn't told me this, but she had to have been a cheerleader. Must have.
I think she was.
Yeah, she's just way too enthusiastic about cheering on the team. And what a great, everybody here makes a contribution. I just go down the roster. Hazards 4. I mean, he's here all the time. And Hazards 4 carries a lot of the water. And if you're not here on Friday night, you need to come check out. He runs all the videos Friday night. And he has a style. It's very soothing, very relaxing. It's just a great, we're the week's behind us for those of you that only work Monday through Friday. Okay. But we kind of let our hair down and have some fun. And Canton Tweet is just, she's like the sister. We're sisters by a different mother or something. I don't know, but she is one of the sweetest women in the Lord that I can think of. She gives of herself and gives of herself, but she's a serious person that takes things seriously, and she's willing to join the fray when you cross that theological line. She will dig in, and like that mama bear. And we just love each other, and I'm grateful for all of you. And Dell, I'm grateful to have you as part of the team, because this is not easy for any of us, and I appreciate you setting aside your personal time, just to come share with us. You've got a nice office there. You're wearing a nice shirt from the Indy 500.
Yeah, brand new one. That's what I paid for it. I better wear it.
Yeah, you just got your hair cut and everything just for us. And
yeah.
But folks, you should have seen him in the green room. His earplugs were
tangled up. We're a mess, weren't they?
He spent a minute trying to untangle that, wondering how they got tangled. I asked, "Do you have a cat?" I mean, I don't know.
Just pulled it out that way.
All right.
But yeah, we've got a good week planned up. We're kind of slowing down a little bit finally, and we're going to Cleveland, I think, maybe this weekend to a game. It's about a 4-hour drive, but that'll be fun. And then start working on some books. I've been off for about a month. So
yeah, it's great to get all those contracts. You might want to write. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, I needed to take a few weeks off and just delouse and get my mind clear and
decompress a little bit.
Yeah, and just kind of start. I know I have 4 more, maybe 5 more coming up, and which would be fun.
Well, it will be fun. Well, I can't wait to hear whatever you're going to talk about next week. Dell, relax, enjoy it. You've done well. I'm proud of you. Thank you for your ministry, Dell. You're a real champion for the cause.
Hey, the set looks great. Your shirt looks great, and I like the swag there. It looks good.
All right, we're doing it. Appreciate it. See you next week, man.
See you. Bye-bye.
All right. Folks, Dell Didway again joining us on PJNet Live. What a privilege. What a pleasure. And how much fun can you have? I love teamwork. They call me coach for a reason, and I just was thrilled. Now, if you haven't read his blog, you need to go read it. Not only this one, but all of his blogs. They come out every Tuesday. DellDidway.com. You spell it like that. Like that. That's how you spell it, okay? Go to DellDidway.com. You'll also find some of his books. We didn't talk much about his books tonight in specific, but he's got a new one coming out August the 5th, and it's called First Down Devotions. I've already ordered mine, pre-ordered it. And I'm sure if you go to his blog site, you'll be able to do that as well if you're so inclined. And we want to get back to some praise and worship and fellowship, and I'm just glad that you are a part of this, and we will turn things back over to our regular programming. Thanks for joining us with Dell Didway right here on PJNet Live.